magnificent. 25 years ago, this 1981 Holden Commodore was condemned to the world famous Flynn's wrecking yard in Coomber in southern New South Wales. I found it there a few years ago and I thought it probably deserves to live again. Last year I went back with a few mates, a jerry can of petrol and a battery, and we got it running again. I drove it onto a trailer and I took it home and I resurrected it. Now it's back on the road. Take a look at it now. Obviously a big part of the appeal of this car for me was its patina, and quite surprisingly the body was in very good condition underneath all this hoariness. I concentrated on the mechanicals. Another pleasant surprise with this car was the fact that it only had about 175,000 kilometres on it when I bought it. The engine did run in the wrecking yard, of course that's how I got it onto the trailer, but when I got it home I went through everything, as well as obvious things like a new battery and a new water pump. I fitted all fresh heater and coolant hoses, a thermostat. The car unfortunately required a reconditioned radiator. I rebuilt the carby, I fitted new engine mounts. I think I replaced the sump gasket, can't remember. New ignition module, all new fuel lines, all new brake lines. I threw a bit of money at this, but it's paid off because the car drives really well. What's next? Obviously this car carries a lot of lovely lichen that it's acquired after 20 years in the wrecking yard in Coomber. I wasn't going to touch any of that, of course. So the car looks like it came out of the wrecking yard the other day. However, as I'm sure I showed in an earlier video, I've had the doors off the car. I've actually gapped the car to make sure that everything fits the way the factory intended. But I wasn't going to touch any of this. It's just too magnificent. I wasn't going to desecrate a sacred site. The other mechanical work I had to do was another fuel tank. The original was rusty, so I got a second-hand one, cleaned it out and installed it. What else? Muffler, the rear muffler got a little hole in it, so I replaced that with a good second-hand one. Fresh shock absorbers, mostly fresh suspension bushes, fresh strut tops, and just about all brand new brakes. And the finishing touch just before registration was a set of brand new tyres on a set of old SLE alloys. As I said a little earlier, the body of this car was in pretty good shape, but it did need some attention. The headlights, well, the headlights that were in it, they were junk. So I replaced them with a good second-hand set. The grille, remember the grille fell off the car in our video? That actually happened. The grille was stuffed, but luckily I had another good one hanging on the garage wall at home. And the bumper bar was missing from this car, so I replaced it with a reasonable bar. It's not quite good enough for a restoration, but it's good enough for this car. And no, I'm not going to paint it. Hey, this car's only a 6-cylinder, but the result of all the work is a car that's a lot of fun to drive. I really enjoy these early Commodores, and I'm glad I put so much effort into the suspension and brakes on this one, and the engine of course, but I'd quite happily drive one of these interstate. In fact, Cameron, how far have we driven these early Commodores now? Lots and lots and lots of Ks. In fact, I sold a HQ Holden Premier years ago to buy my first Commodore because I simply didn't enjoy driving it. The Commodore is so much sharper, so much more dynamic, a lot more fun. So yeah, I like them. So folks, that's the story of this 1981 VC Holden Commodore sedan. Found in a wrecking yard, dragged home, fixed up, put back on the road, and here it is, all finished. Isn't it wonderful? So, time for a celebratory beer. But there's one more thing left to do. When I was cleaning out this car, I found the owner's manual in the glove box. So, Cameron, what do you reckon?
It's road trip time.
You reckon it's time for a road trip, mate? Yeah, I reckon you're right. Anyway, I'm Glenn Torrens. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.